Even in our country's darkest economic days, workers have never faced this level of uncertainty. But think for a moment about what that 3.28 million figure really means. That's a single mother who's been living paycheck to paycheck before this crisis, and she doesn't know now how she's going to provide for her children. It's the college graduate who is just starting to pay down those student loans to move on with his dreams, who now doesn't know when that will be possible. It's the restaurant worker and the restaurant owner who worry they may not see a packed house in time to save the restaurant. We hear you. I hear you. I feel and know the pain that we are going through right now, and I know each one of us is experiencing that. COVID-19 has forced us to make drastic changes to the way that we live, the way we work, shop, communicate, all of them critical to health and to safety. This pandemic has fundamentally upended our lives and our economy and our workforce seemingly overnight. And even if necessary, that comes with a cost, a significant blow to our households, to our bank accounts, our sense of security, and our families. This is dire, but it's not surprising. And in Los Angeles, we have been busy preparing for the shock of this economic outbreak and have already taken steps to help struggling workers and businesses. With so many folks that are now working at home, I want to share with you a new site that we've launched tonight. It's coronavirus.lacity.org/getconnected. It details free and low-cost internet options for all Angelenos. Whether it's a student who finds herself at home needing to learn the guidance that's now coming out from her school or school district, whether it's a worker who's struggling to make those teleconferences work but didn't have the connection that they needed. And there's relief that's coming from Washington too, a $2 trillion package. It's a survival package for our economy and our workers, delivering $1,200 per individual, $2,400 per couple, and $500 for each child in any family. These are for folks who need it most, not high-income individuals, but middle class, working class, and poor Angelenos and Americans. This legislation is unprecedented, and it certainly will help, but it won't go that far, especially when we know this crisis won't be over in just a week or two, or even a single month. With a long road ahead, many Angelenos can't wait for that federal relief check. And if they can, they know it won't last nearly long enough. People are losing their jobs and their paychecks now. And with rent coming due on April 1st, it's a reminder, if you cannot pay that rent because of this crisis, you cannot be evicted. From the beginning, I've made clear that this will be a process not of days or just of weeks, but of some months. That's why earlier this week we extended the emergency eviction moratorium to April 19th, and I'm prepared to extend that further as needed. This applies to both residential and commercial tenants, and the money owed will not disappear. After this emergency ends, residential tenants will have 6 months to pay it back. And I want to thank again the governor who's helping with mortgage relief, and hope that all banks will step up and help with the 3 months of relief for those who own homes, own apartment buildings, and hopefully commercial structures as well. No matter what happens, I want you to know that we are here to help you. I am here. And so are businesses across Los Angeles, with so many local manufacturers who've reached out to me and to our city and saying, how can I help? We're blessed to be a city that makes things. A lot of people don't realize this, but Los Angeles and Southern California is the manufacturing capital of America, making more things than any other region of the United States. And so here's how we are helping those companies answer the call. Today I'm launching LA Protects, a partnership between the City of Los Angeles and Reformation, a local clothing company, to organize the fashion and garment industry to make protective gear and other badly needed medical supplies for our frontline workers. And I want to thank Kaiser Permanente for their incredible guidance in putting together the standards that will help us produce these badly needed materials. They provided the specifications for a non-medical mask that we are open sourcing to the public. Let me be clear, N95 masks in short supply are for our doctors, nurses, and first responders. The masks that will be produced through this partnership are not N95 medical grade masks, but they're designed to meet the needs of other Angelenos on the front lines, from grocery clerks, non-medical staffs in hospitals, and others who are providing those essential services that we need to get through this. Garment and apparel manufacturers who are interested in joining us, and thank you to the dozens who have already stepped up, who have sewers and who have sewing equipment, those folks who want to help in this, please sign up today at coronavirus.lacity.org/LAprotects to be a part of this program and help us reach our goal of producing 5 million non-medical masks right here in Southern California. Angelenos step up, and I expect that to be the case here, and I'm so grateful to Reformation for leading this and the other companies who are going to work together to make sure that we meet the quality standards. To make this process seamless, LA Protects will match approved manufacturing companies with essential industries in need of masks, including the healthcare industry, grocers, takeout restaurants, delivery services, as well as food and beverage manufacturers. And I want to impress on all those amazing people who are helping deliver food and bring food to practice the safest and cleanest measures they can to ensure that you stay healthy, because we need you to keep doing your jobs. My team and our partners are ready to scale this mask manufacturing, and Reformation is working closely with Kaiser to design other items we may need down the line. And at the same time we're helping those frontline workers, this program will save jobs. Businesses that otherwise would have to keep their doors closed and furlough staff will be able to reopen. And we know that so many of the workers in our garment industry are immigrants, lower income workers from around the world who have come to Los Angeles for a better life. And this program reflects the very best of that can-do Angeleno spirit. It's also important to remember that ramping back up does not mean business as usual. There are guidelines for essential manufacturing businesses to follow if you're allowed to stay open. Employee workstations must be at least 6 feet apart, and there must be strict protocols on disinfecting workstations and high-use areas. Further information on those best practices can be found online, and I again call on businesses to sign up at coronavirus.lacity.org/LAprotects. I've always said that Los Angeles is a manufacturing capital, and now we're going to prove it. As we keep saying each day and every day, we cannot get through this crisis unless we are healthy and safe. It's that simple, and in many ways we're seeing clear-cut progress on public safety. Our police department tracks crime statistics every week, and something we've seen in the past 2 weeks as more and more Angelenos have stayed home is that crime rates are falling faster than the beginning part of the year, where they had already started to fall. Violent crime, property crime, Part 1 crime are all down significantly since this crisis began. Further evidence that everybody is heeding our orders, and further proof for all those texts or emails or rumors out there about things being unsafe, that they're just patently false. Protecting public safety also means reaffirming what we are saying constantly, that we are all safer at home. I've not hesitated to take tough steps and to make unpopular choices if I believe it will save the lives of the city that I love and its people. In recent days, we closed lots at Venice Beach, closed the Venice Pier, Runyon Canyon, Bronson Canyon, and many team sports facilities in our parks. Starting tomorrow, the parks will remain open for walking or jogging, but we will close all park amenities, including skate parks and tennis courts. We will continue doing what we have to do to prevent all gatherings. I don't want to do these things. I do them each with a heavy heart. Today would have been opening day for the Dodgers. It would have been amazing to be out there, to drink in a wonderful LA day, and to see our Dodgers on the way to what I hope this year could have been, and still, who knows, might be the year we go all the way. But each one of these steps and these things that we're removing, know that they are just temporary. They are not forever, but they are absolutely critical, and I need your help to continue with the discipline that you have shown, and I'm so proud of you. I know how tough it's been, I know how tough it's becoming, and I know how tough it will be, but we can do this, and we can do it together, Los Angeles. As long as we keep seeing images, though, of whether it's packed trails or crowded beaches, we're going to keep taking clear, targeted action to protect Angelenos. And I know a lot of us sound like a broken record, issuing warnings, and it doesn't apply to the overwhelming majority of you. But I've been so proud to see Angelenos shaming each other. It's one of these times you actually have the mayor's permission to say, hey, what are you doing? Get away from each other. You're too close. Why are you going out? When you see behavior, help protect somebody. You're not just doing that to be a busybody. You're actually helping protect them and save their lives, potentially, as well. This is serious. And if you don't want to take my word for it, look at the numbers today. Today, there were 9 new deaths in Los Angeles County from COVID-19, and 421 new cases overall, bringing the number of confirmed deaths in our county to 21 and more than 1,200 cases. This represents a huge jump, my friends, an increase of more than 50% in a single day of confirmed cases, and an increase of more than 70% of our Angelenos who now have fallen. Even more disturbingly, we see that if this rate of increase continues, in 6 days we will be where New York is today, the same number of cases per capita as they are struggling through. But I'll be the first to say these are not numbers. These are neighbors. These are not statistics. These are the loved ones that are in our families and our communities and our workplaces. And I never want to report those numbers, as I will do each evening, without pausing and remembering those who have died, their lives, their connections, their contributions to this great city. And to those who are mourning tonight, I want to say our hearts are broken alongside you, and they will be throughout this crisis for too many Angelenos. Today, the United States overtook China as the country with the most cases in the world. And we're only on the front end of this curve by what all the public health officials tell us. It will get worse, but in the coming days, we will be together. And in these briefings starting tomorrow, I will tell you a little bit more about some of those projections experts are sharing with me, so that you know what you can expect in the weeks ahead. You deserve to know them as soon as I do, to prepare for what's coming. And behind these statistics are stories that we will stop to learn and to mourn. But we must be sure that these facts and figures provide us not only with remembrance, but with greater resolve to stick with this, no matter how difficult it feels, no matter how early it seems, no matter at what point we feel, we have to listen to science and to data. All of my decisions come from that, not from a feeling and not from hope, but from the truth and what we can get from the experts looking at this disease. It's why we have to continue with tough measures, why we have to shut down cherished sites and local treasures as long as this emergency lasts. It's what we have to do to protect human life, and that is the most precious thing that we have. I also would like to take a moment and speak to my fellow mayors across the country, as well as governors and our leaders in Washington. We are only as strong as our weakest link. In Los Angeles, we are doing everything. We have sacrificed greatly and will sacrifice more in the days ahead. And many other cities and towns and states have taken the actions we did here first in Los Angeles and California. I was asked by a reporter today, is Los Angeles the next New York? And I said, sure, in the same way that New York is now the next, or is now the next Italy, and Italy was the next Iran, and Iran was the next China. And no matter where you live, you are the next. This virus doesn't care where you live. The media is reporting this sometimes in national media, that there's hot spots on the coasts. But I just did the numbers before coming in here. In North Dakota, they're just one day behind us per capita. In Wyoming, the same. It doesn't matter if you're in a rural area. It doesn't matter if you're in a big city. It doesn't matter what party of the leaders, the state that you're in. This virus does not discriminate, and we must not discriminate in terms of our reaction and our actions that we take together as a country. And we have to continue to come together. Whether it's consolidating all the buying that's going on that's become so competitive between cities and states and our federal government, we need to get the help to everyone. And here in Los Angeles, we're prepared not only to do our part for ourselves, but whether it's the manufacturing of masks, getting things in with hardworking longshore workers and truck drivers and warehouse workers through our port that will go into America, the time for us to come together as Americans is right now. And also to be Americans that engage with the rest of the world. Individuals who are hundreds or thousands of miles away may come into contact with people across this country, who then come in contact with people who are in Los Angeles, or they might fly or drive into our city. So this is a national undertaking. And as Angelenos are stopping everything and sacrificing their livelihoods, we need every single jurisdiction across the country to make sure that they are certain and doing the same things we are too. It's a fact. Any American who doesn't take these actions puts all of us at risk. Every time that anybody here or anywhere disregards public health orders on physical distancing, more people get sick. When more people get sick, with the rate of increase, one person in just 2 weeks can help spread this disease to thousands of people, not just where they live, but around this country. And when there's more cases, that means more people will die. So this isn't a time to break rules or flout laws. It isn't brave or cool to defy the authorities. It puts lives in harm's way. So I hope everybody takes this seriously and stays home. One thing's been clear since the beginning of this pandemic. This is a global crisis. The COVID-19 outbreak doesn't respect state borders or national boundaries. It affects all of us, no matter where we come from or what language we speak. And we've seen the impacts across the international stage. Travel restrictions from China and Europe, a dramatic slowdown in visitors from abroad at our airport that has hit our tourism industry and zeroed it out, even the postponement of the Olympic and Paralympic Games in Tokyo. As this challenge crisscrosses the globe, I know Los Angeles is stronger and better prepared because we've always been a global crossroads. And in a crisis, we might have to stop flights and face-to-face trips, but our toughest moments bring us together with the world, and we don't wall ourselves off from it. We engage with it. And we're using those ties to boost our response, connecting with partners and supply chains across the world, local businessmen and women who manufacture in China and Korea are helping us get the supplies we need to. I've spoken with mayors in Italy and Asia directly to ask their advice, called heads of state to coordinate assistance and to ask for help. And tomorrow I will lead a call with dozens of mayors around the world, from Europe, from Asia, the Middle East, and Africa, to hear what they are facing and what we can do to help each other. And tonight, I want to thank Shanghai and our sister city of Guangzhou, who are sending us masks and vitally needed personal protective equipment for our frontline doctors and nurses and medical teams. This is the power of partnerships. This is how we tap into our relationships in order to protect our people. This outpouring of global cooperation speaks to something we've highlighted in recent days in our own communities and lives, that even as we keep physical distance, we need to increase our social and spiritual connections. This challenge crosses borders, and so do our friendships. Even as we distance ourselves, let us not abandon our values. We can't accept xenophobia, whether it's what we've seen on college campuses or in Asian American-owned businesses or immigrant neighborhoods. We can never lose sight of who we are and the fellow human beings that are in need of connection, support, and strength. People who are bound by a common commitment to slow the spread of this virus, to save our economy, and to rebuild a stronger city and world. That's the spirit that we bring to this work. That's the determination and grit that I hold on to and that you hold on to every single day. Los Angeles, I'm so proud of you. As we look at the storm clouds above us, we still see that darkness. But we will get through this crisis together. So stay safe, stay healthy, and stay home.